Before we begin, understand this clearly. Our latest Patreon video, Why Women Become Inconsistent When She Feel You're Fully Invested, is already live. What you're about to hear explains why her interest fades. That video explains why the moment you leaned in, everything quietly shifted against you. And if you want coaching, the link is in the description and pinned comment. That option exists for men who are tired of being confused by patterns they helped create. Now let me pull you in. She didn't lose curiosity because you weren't good enough. She lost curiosity because she could see you coming from a mile away. Every word, every reaction, every emotional move arrived on schedule like a commuter train. And nothing kills desire faster than punctuality. Predictability feels safe to men. It feels like control. To women, it feels like the end of the story. Here's the brutal truth most men choke on. Women don't get bored because nothing is happening. They get bored because everything is happening exactly as expected. When your behavior becomes legible, when your emotional responses can be anticipated, when your presence no longer changes the temperature in the room, curiosity dies quietly and without ceremony. Curiosity is not a reward for effort. It's a response to uncertainty that feels controlled. Men who become predictable think they're building trust. What they're actually doing is removing friction. And friction is where attention lives. Women don't obsess over men they understand completely. They obsess over men they partially understand, but can't quite map. The moment she can predict your next move, your next text, your next emotional beat, her mind stops reaching toward you. And when her mind stops reaching, the body follows shortly after. This is where simps embarrass themselves. They believe consistency equals attraction. They believe reliability creates desire. Reliability creates comfort. Comfort creates indifference. Indifference is the prelude to replacement. Women don't fantasize about furniture. Now here's the part. Women who can play men deserve credit for. They intuitively understand that curiosity is leverage. So they withhold total transparency. They pace their availability. They vary emotional tone. They don't rush to resolve tension. They allow mystery to ferment. Men call this manipulation. Women call it survival. Men, on the other hand, overshare like confession booths with Wi-Fi. They narrate their emotions in real time. They telegraph intent. They declare investment too early. And then they stand there confused when curiosity evaporates. Predictability isn't about routines. It's about emotional rhythm. When she knows that you'll always respond the same way, that your mood depends on her approval, that your interest escalates on a fixed timeline, she stops leaning forward mentally. There's nothing left to discover. Here's where psychology quietly confirms what experience already taught the observant. A study published in Personality and Social Psychology Bulletin found that perceived predictability in romantic partners reduces attraction over time, particularly when predictability signals emotional dependency or low variance in behavior. In simple terms, when someone becomes easy to read and emotionally static, the brain disengages. Novelty fuels attention. Familiarity without depth numbs it. Men hear this and panic. They think the solution is to become erratic, aloof, or cruel. That's amateur hour. Randomness is not mystery. Volatility is not depth. Women aren't losing curiosity because you're too nice. They're losing curiosity because you're too available emotionally without being internally anchored. A man with no inner life is an open book with blank pages. Predictability also exposes something more dangerous. Lack of options. When your schedule revolves around her, when your energy spikes and crashes based on her engagement, when she feels like the central pillar of your emotional universe. Curiosity dies because power imbalance becomes obvious. Desire requires tension. Tension requires autonomy. This is why curiosity often fades right after you lock it down. You start explaining yourself. You start seeking reassurance. You start optimizing for harmony. You turn the relationship into a managed environment. Women don't explore managed environments. They inhabit them until they get restless. And restlessness is lethal. She doesn't wake up one day and decide she's bored. Her nervous system decides first. The absence of unpredictability signals that nothing new will emerge from you. No challenge, no surprise, no growth. So, her attention drifts elsewhere, not necessarily to another man, but to anything that makes her feel mentally awake again. Men who try to reignite curiosity by demanding clarity make it worse. They force definition. They push for labels. They ask where things are going. That's not confidence. That's anxiety wearing a suit. Curiosity thrives in space that feels intentional, not vacant. When you pull back chaotically, she feels dismissed. When you pull back calmly, she wonders why. That wondering is the spark. Predictability also shows up in how men react to tension. When every disagreement results in the same apology script, the same emotional concession, the same self-blame, curiosity flatlines. She knows exactly how pressure will reshape you. And once a woman knows how easily you fold, she stops testing. Not because she's satisfied, but because the result is boring. Here's the dark humor in all of this. Men think being stable makes them desirable long-term. Stability without evolution is stagnation. Stability with mystery is rare. That's the combination women don't get tired of. Curiosity survives when a woman senses that you are not fully accessible. Not because you're hiding, but because you are occupied with something larger than her approval. Purpose creates opacity. Opacity creates intrigue. Men who lose curiosity have usually made the same mistake. They turned the relationship into the most important thing in their lives. And when something becomes too important, it becomes predictable. You protect it. You manage it. You stop risking within it. Women don't fall in love with caretakers of the connection. They fall in love with men who still risk within it. Now let's talk about what to do, because understanding without application is just another way to stay stuck. Your homework begins with restraint. For the next 3 weeks, stop explaining yourself, unless absolutely necessary. Let some silence exist. Let some reactions go uncorrected. Not as punishment, but as containment. Reintroduce unpredictability through depth, not chaos. Change your routines in ways that don't involve her. Add demands to your life that compete with her attention. Not theatrically, quietly. When she asks questions, answer honestly, but incompletely. Not evasively, succinctly. Let curiosity do the rest of the work. Most importantly, watch your emotional reflexes. The urge to reassure, to clarify, to smooth over uncertainty. That urge is the instinct that killed curiosity in the first place. Discipline it. If curiosity returns, you'll feel it. She'll initiate more. She'll probe. She'll test lightly. She'll re-engage mentally. If it doesn't, you'll still have regained your center. Either outcome is a win. Because here's the final truth men hate, but need. If curiosity only existed when you were bending yourself into emotional origami, it wasn't attraction. It was attention. If this video sharpened how you see attraction and boredom, subscribe. Not out of loyalty, but because repetition trains perception, and perception decides outcomes. And leave a comment answering this. In your last relationship, where did predictability creep in first? Your emotions, your availability, or your sense of purpose? Be honest. The pattern you admit is the pattern you can finally break. Welcome to the dark side of your mind, an armory disguised as advice. Everything here exists to give you clarity sharper than the games being played against you. The reading is where I dissect your situation with precision. What he meant, what he didn't, what you missed. About 1,000 words, plus one follow-up question to tighten the strategy. The case file is the full autopsy, a complete psychological breakdown in writing, plus a private audio message so you hear the parts most people avoid. One follow-up to lock it in. If you want speed, there's the whisper. 400 words. Direct. Unfiltered. No extra dialogue. If you prefer tone and voice, the weight of the message itself, the transmission gives you a private audio response. No follow-up. No hand-holding. And if your situation is messy enough for multiple angles, buy 2 services, and the third is free. Strategy rewards commitment. If you want the truth delivered publicly, without exposing yourself, there's the public whisper. One question, one strategic answer, posted for others to learn from. Short, clean, no follow-up. You already know why you're here. You ask your question, and within 72 hours, you get clarity most people never develop. Emotional discipline, psychological leverage, the ability to stop repeating patterns that drain you. The dark side of your mind isn't here to soothe you. It's here to change how you move.